tell you, I have a little problem. I live at Brookside Center, and I work in the shop, and I got my finger or my thumb caught in the sander, so it's a little sore. And I don't do a very good job putting a bandage on, so forgive me, you know. Anyway, it's been a long time since I was in the service, over 50 years, and it's funny how you can remember these things that happened that long ago when maybe I can't hardly remember what happened yesterday. But I guess that's the way it is when you get old. About 7 years ago, well, it was about that time that my family, my grandchildren and my sons, asked me to write down my thoughts about what I had done while I was in the service. And I put it off and put it off, but I you know, I kept thinking about maybe I should, just for their sake. I didn't want to make it a public thing, but anyway, I did think about doing it, and after a while, my wife got after me. She thought I better do it. One day we were going to go to our daughter who lives in Warwick, New York. It's about it's a 5-hour drive, about 250 miles. And as we left our driveway, my wife got her pad and pencil out, and she says, "Okay, start talking." Well, from that whole time, I took up 5 hours of talking about my service, and as I entered into the driveway of my daughters, I completed it. So now I have written a story about my service. And I said, I think maybe I would like to show you how I looked then. Different. I wish I looked like that now. 1941, December 7th, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. A surprise to the United States. Sneak attack. We were already engaged in war with Germany. And now we have a war on both sides to worry about. War with Japan and war with Germany. At that time, I had worked with my father on a farm near Deer River, but I got to thinking, maybe this is the time I should think about getting into the service. And if I do, I don't want to be drafted. I'm on a list because there's a certain area that I'd like to be in, and that would be the Air Force. And so I did. And as it turned out, I went into the cadets and finally ended up in San Antonio, Texas, where I got my cadet training. My aptitude test shown that I was mostly qualified for radio and navigation. As long as that was what it had shown, and maybe that would be the best route that I should take, I did go into radio and navigation. So at that time, I had to first go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota for 22 weeks of radio school. At that time, they had the Morse code. We had to learn at least 18 words a minute for the Morse code before we could be on a crew or on a ship or anything. So that was what I had to do. So I spent my 22 weeks in radio school and learned the Morse code and plus navigation. After that, because we wanted to be on an airplane, I had to go into gunnery school. I had already soloed in Sioux Falls, South Dakota on a small plane, but now I've got to go to gunnery school, which is a flexible gunnery school, and that was in Yuma, Arizona. I spent some time there until I got to the time when I need to get off it. I had already learned what I needed to know about the gunnery school. Then from there on, we were to meet our crew, the crew that we were going to be flying with. So we had to do some training it was in Massachusetts actually, and we trained there for a period of time, meeting our crew, learning what the plane was all about, getting our positions on the plane, learning what our duties were, and so forth. So this is what we were doing. And after we had learned enough about and completed our training, we finally were sent overseas. First we had to go to Greenland to get all our equipment for overseas. And that was our real most unusual experience. We knew that we were going to go from Greenland to the island of the Azores before we landed into the proper Europe land. So anyway, we did start out on our flight. And about halfway across the ocean, I had changed my transmitter to go to meet with the transmitter in the island of the Azores. So everything was working fine up until that point. When we got to the island of the Azores, now we had a brand new B-24 Liberator bomber costing thousands and thousands of dollars. And when we got to the island of the Azores, really we didn't realize that we had, our nose wheel didn't come down. And we landed on this corrugated runway with no nose wheel. And none of us got hurt. But I can tell you that it was a pretty sad landing. We were glad to get out of there alive. And we did completely smash the plane. So we spent 3 weeks on the Azores waiting for transportation out of that island to the mainland. Then we went to Tunis in North Africa. After we got a transport plane, they took us to Tunis. We were there in Tunis a period of time waiting to be assigned to our permanent location. And as it turned out, my permanent location was to be in the 451st Bomb Group located in Foggia, Italy. This meant that any missions that we were to fly, we had to fly over the Adriatic Sea. While we were flying over the Adriatic Sea, we had some help because our own fighter pilots would guide along with us, keeping other enemy pilots away from us so that we could make it across. After we got across the Adriatic Sea, though, we were on our own. So we had started our missions. By this time, Germany had gobbled up a lot of Europe. Hungary, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Italy, and finally to France, and their last big drive was into England. This is why the United States felt it was about time we got in there and stopped this man, this crazy man, Adolf Hitler, from going any further. It was it was terrible, the things that he did to gain all of the property that he did, all the land that he did, taking it from these innocent people without any problem at all, no fighting to speak of, just went in with the tanks and took over these lands that these people had worshipped and lived for so many years. So finally we had started our missions. Our missions sometimes took us to one of the countries like Hungary or Yugoslavia, and sometimes in the mainland of Germany. And some of our missions were short, and some of them were really long. Usually we had a little problem once in a while with gunfire coming into our plane, anti-aircraft guns from the land, fighters coming in from all sides. I remember one time, I should tell you this too, that my job on the plane was radio and also a gunner. I was a left waist gunner. Now on a B-24 bomber, there are several guns to try to keep these enemies away from us. There are two 30-aught caliber machine guns located in the tail. There's the top turret gunner who has two 30-aught caliber machine guns. Our waist gunner, myself, had two 50 caliber machine guns, and the engineer who was the other gunner had two 50 caliber machine guns. Then we had a ball turret underneath the plane. This boy, I didn't care about that job. But anyway, this is where he was located, and he had two 30 caliber machine guns. So we were, to catch planes coming in from all sides of us, we were pretty well set on that part of it. But sometimes they got in on us anyway and hit the plane. I had served 22 missions, going over into marshalling yards, ammunition factories, other factories, railroad yards, bridges. These are all targets that we were to bomb. And so it was, we never knew exactly until that morning that we left. And usually the morning that we left was about 4 o'clock in the morning. We were always briefed to tell us exactly where we were going. And so this knowledge wasn't given to us until the last minute, hoping and praying that there's anybody in the group that might be a little bit spy or whatever, that information would get to the enemy. So we were not told until we were ready to leave that morning.